Coming up today on the Leipzig Loko, it's our last episode of this season in the two Bundesliga, and we still have a slight chance of making our way into a promotion playoff, only 2 points behind the team currently in that spot, in Dynamo Dresden as well as Arminia Bielefeld these days. In fourth, hopefully, we can find a way to overtake both those teams and get a chance to go up to the Bundesliga. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 50 of the Leipzig Loko with Lokomotive Leipzig here on Sean Does FM. I hope you are doing well and coming up today. We finish our second season in the two Bundesliga in a very similar position to where we were this time last year. We are still though in this time with a chance of potentially making a promotion playoff, only 2 points behind Dynamo Dresden and Arminia Bielefeld, and of course those two teams are playing each other on the final match day. So hopefully, if we win these last two games that we're going to play against Karlsruher and Werder Bremen, we might get a chance to sneak inside of that top three. Also, if we don't do that, we'll also have the end of season review in this episode as well. So if you're looking forward to what could be quite a big one where hopefully we can sneak our way into a promotion playoff, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But in yesterday's episode we did take on Arminia Bielefeld as well as St. Pauli, and thankfully did pick up two important wins to keep our promotion hunt alive. If you did miss that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, we did play two more games because still, thankfully, we were able to keep ourselves in the promotion hunt and can take this hopefully into that final day of the season. Our form pretty good apart from that loss that we did have against Holstein Kiel, since we did go to the Gegenpress off the back of that loss to Grufer Fürth earlier this week, and it has continued off the back of yesterday's episode. First off, we took on Augsburg for this game. Of course, we did have both our ball-playing defenders suspended, so it did mean we had to start with the centre-back pairing of Lucas Search and Alexander Stankovic. So it's our centre-back pairing from last season. Unfortunately, we did drop points away from home in this one. Did grab an early lead through Daniel Cueto. Then, right before half-time, Reece Oxford did score from a corner. Right off the back of half-time, they did grab a 2-1 lead, but thankfully, off the back of going attacking for the last couple of minutes and off the bench, it was Salue who did grab a massive equaliser for us in this game. Quite an even game. Did feel like a draw was a fair result, but unfortunately some drop points, but still not the worst result. It did allow us to keep a little bit of pressure on those teams who were above us, albeit it did mean Dynamo Dresden did grab a bit of a break on us in terms of the points table as well as the goal differential. Off the back of that, we took on Sandhausen away from home, picked up a 2-1 win around the 20-minute mark. We grabbed a double here through Atilgan and Krasnicki about 10 minutes before half-time. They did grab a goal back, thankfully. Not much happened in the second half apart from a very late red card for a second yellow, and we held on to pick up 3 points away from home. Some good results here away from home off the back of yesterday's episode. As I said, would have been nice if we did come out and beat Augsburg, but it wasn't to be. And what that means for the table going into these last two games of the season, we are now only 2 points behind Dynamo Dresden these days in that third spot. That's because Arminia Bielefeld have just been slipping up a little bit off the back of that last episode. We'll go back and show you guys their results. A 0-0 draw in a game against Hanover on that most recent match day where we picked up that win over Sandhausen. Dynamo Dresden in superb form in the second part of the season. They picked up a 6-1 win. Their goal differential is going to be pretty much impossible to beat during the course of today's episode. So I think the only chance we've got today is by jumping above those guys on the points table. Arminia Bielefeld we could draw level with and might have a chance of getting above those guys based on our goal differential. So the big focus today is to try and end up on a higher points total than Dynamo Dresden. If we can be level with Arminia Bielefeld, that might not be the worst thing. That goal differential is not quite as bad in comparison. But the last two games of the season for us are barely winnable, it's fair to say. First up, we do host Karlsruhe. Those guys are currently down in 9th on the table at home. Hopefully that is a game we can pick up a result in. Otherwise, fair to say our chances of getting promoted are quite similar. On the final day of the season, we take on Werder Bremen. Also on that match day, big game, Dynamo Dresden are hosting Arminia Bielefeld. We'll come back in between these games in today's episode and see what is riding on that game and what result we might need if we are to jump above one or both of those teams on the league table. So a fair bit going on in these two games coming up in today's episode. Hopefully 2 games anyway, as long as we get the job done in the first one against this Karlsruher outfit, who to be fair come to this game in some pretty decent form, including a 4-1 win over Augsburg in their most recent outing. The team we could only manage a 2-2 draw against, so maybe this one's going to be a little bit tougher and could be the end of our promotion hopes for this season. Unfortunately, we do have a couple of concerns going into this game as well in terms of player availability. Racine Bullock, he is suspended, picked up 2 more yellow cards in that most recent win. So that means that Leon Heinke will be starting in his place in today's episode, and one of our youngsters makes his way from the second team onto the bench. And also a couple of injuries, a facial laceration to Panzo Ernesto. He's okay to play through that with a lovely mask on his beautiful face. But also Lucas Locke, while he was suspended for that game against Augsburg, he actually picked up a groin strain and is going to be missing for just a little while longer. 1 to 6 days, might be back for that last game of the season, but that does mean we don't quite have the same cover in that ball-playing defender role on the bench. But hopefully that will be fine now that Tom Gall is also back from that suspension. He served in that same game, but hopefully we can pick up a result in this first game of today's episode. In terms of the 2 teams who are just above us on that league table, Dynamo Dresden, as you can see, in terrific form. They travel away to Erzgebirge. Those guys are all the way down in 16th. You'd expect them on recent form to pick up a result in that one. And Arminia Bielefeld, they are at home. They take on Heidenheim, who to be fair have gone up the table a lot since we bet them early this season and when we took them on early in the second part off the back of the winter break. These days those guys have shot all the way up to 10th, but still at home, that's a game you'd probably expect Arminia Bielefeld to pick up maximum points from, so it might make things a little bit tricky on the final day of the season. But all we can do is pick up wins in our games and see how close that does get us to potentially jumping above both these guys as well as Dynamo Dresden. And we'll come back and get stuck into this first game of today's episode. 3 points needed as we're at home and taking on Karlsruhe. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. It's our last one at home this season. Obviously, we do have a few changes on the bench. We've got Stankovic and Uger in there with those suspensions, and Heinke is starting over Bullock with that suspension. But apart from that, we are at full strength, playing the same formation as our opposition in Karlsruhe. But hopefully we can pick up a win and keep ourselves running that promotion fight going into that last day of the season. And just shy of the 10-minute mark, the first highlight in this game, we were briefly there on the attack, but there was a ball played deep and the goalkeeper does get that one back there for Karlsruhe. They pumped that one deep, and Molino there did look like he might be offside. Apparently he wasn't, and Krapakas there forced into a good save. That's a bit of a scary moment early, getting in behind our defence far too easily. There are the away team in the dark bluey purple. They have a corner here. They try and put that one far post. Thankfully, Tom Gall heads that one away. Wagner with a shot. Thankfully, goes just over the bar, and it is still 0-0. And just shy of the 20-minute mark, the next highlight in this game so far, all the action based on stats has been in favour of our opposition, which is a little bit concerning so far. The other games both locked up at 0-0 as well, involving those teams just above us on the league table. But good work there from Mokashev to get beyond. I think that would have been Krasnicki down that side, but thankfully, Huxa recovers that one. We pump that one deep, can't quite win it. And it is a chance here for Karlsruhe to play out from the back. Poor pass there though. Clige gets it back. Good 1-2 there between him and Osman Tilgan. He slots him through and buries that bottom right corner. And despite the fact we've been on the back foot for most of this game so far, we do take a reasonably early 1-0 lead. And hopefully that can put just a little bit of pressure on those teams sitting above us on that table in the second to last match week, of course, before they take each other on the final match day. But good work there off the back of winning the ball nice and high up the field, and we take a 1-0 lead. And we're just about to make our way into half-time in this first game of today's episode. There is the live ladder. Both those other games involving the teams above us are still locked up at 0-0. So it does mean at the moment we've actually moved up to 4th above Arminia Bielefeld on goal differential. Obviously, Dynamo Dresden will have that over us, but potentially a chance now for us, if those scorelines remain, for us to pick up a good result on the final day of the season. And if Dynamo Dresden don't get all 3 points against Arminia Bielefeld, we are in with a real chance potentially of grabbing that third spot. We're going to make a sub at half time though. Krasnicki was on an orange injury for most of that first half. Owusu can come on for him, but otherwise reasonably happy with how it's going so far scoreline wise, albeit performance wise. A little bit iffy, but we'll get things back underway, most importantly, with a 1-0 lead. And just shy of 10 minutes into the second half, it's an early free kick here, which Owusu tries to put top right corner fresh off the bench, but cast in there makes a good save as that one did look to be dipping just in time to potentially creep its way into that top right corner. Now we have a corner. Tom Gale, far post. We actually meet him, but unfortunately his header goes just over the bar, and we still hold our 1-0 lead. And very shortly off the back of that first highlight in this half, we are still on the attack here. Heinke has the ball just outside of the box, plays that one back to Lucas Search, and now Tom Gale as we camp ourselves inside the opposition half. Big chance there again for Owusu, and yet again their goalkeeper comes up with a big save. That one a lot better than the previous one, of course, much more point blank range for that one. 2 good chances now for Owusu in the second half, but unfortunately haven't done anything with those, and there he gets robbed of the ball just outside of the box. Still 1-0 coming up to the hour mark. And just about to make our way inside the last 20 minutes of this game, those other results still kind of in our favour here. Draws in the Dynamo Dresden, Arminia Bielefeld, as well as Hanover games, and those guys did also pick up a red card in that one. That could actually be a little bit interesting as well, their game on the final day of the season, but time for us to make some subs here, some players who are tired and are on average rating. So we're going to take off here Dolenzo for Bas at left back, also bring on Malati for Kachala on a red heart, as well as that we'll take off Leon Heinke in his place, Alexander Stankovic. Bit of a risk, but hopefully he can do the job with no Racine Bullock, and we can hold on to this 1-0 lead. And very shortly off the back of those previous substitutions, have just noticed now that Florian Huxer has gone down to a red heart. Also Lucas Search has picked up a yellow card, and Cueto and Atilgan also down to reds, but with this being a pretty important game, only up by 1 goal, it will be Ernesto coming on with that face mask for these last 10 or so minutes, and hopefully no more highlights. We can hold on to a 1-0 lead. And we're inside the last 5 minutes of this game. Still no score updates from those games involving Dynamo Dresden and Arminia Bielefeld, but thankfully it does look like we are going to pick up a big win here at home in our home closing game this season. It was a little bit scrappy in terms of stats actually. Karlsruher did have more shots, but thankfully only 2 on target, not too threatening. In terms of XG, that good early work there from Clige to win the ball back nice and high. Good 1-2 between him and Osman Atilgan did mean we did pick up a goal, and that was the all-important difference maker as we pick up 3 points. And just going forward, we'll see what the table might look like going in to that final day of the season. Maybe even Hanover might get dragged into this promotion fight, and they might do because there were draws in those games involving them, Dynamo Dresden and Arminia Bielefeld. So that actually sets up a very interesting final day of the season, especially with Dynamo Dresden hosting Arminia Bielefeld, but we are still right in this fight. Last day of the season, we are joint on points with the team in that promotion playoff off the back of a 1-0 win over Karlsruhe. And just stopping in quickly before we do take part in this final day of the 2 Bundesliga season, and we can potentially move our way into a promotion playoff spot if results do go in our favour. What we need to do, obviously, is win our game, but also, considering that Arminia Bielefeld and Dynamo Dresden are taking each other on, so at the very least those teams will pick up a point each. Hopefully that might be the case, and we can pick up a win over Werder Bremen on this final match day. The other thing that could go in our favour here is if Arminia Bielefeld actually beat Dynamo Dresden, even though they are away from home. If we can pick up a win as well, our goal differential is still slightly better than Arminia Bielefeld's, so there's a chance, as long as Dynamo Dresden do lose on this final match day, we could still make our way into that third spot. Also, Hanover could get dragged into this, albeit it's a little bit unlikely. Those guys up on 63 points, should expect them to still be in there. Their goal differential should stay above ours. They take on Augsburg on that final day of the season. So I think this is just a fight here between us, Dynamo Dresden, and Arminia Bielefeld, and a big eye we are going to keep on that game between those two teams, albeit Dynamo Dresden, the team we really need to be dropping points in that game, are still in very good form, but hopefully that draw there against Erzgebirge might just throw them off their game a little bit, albeit Arminia Bielefeld aren't exactly in a great patch of form either, only one win from their last 5 games. But in terms of us, we are taking on a Werder Bremen team away from home. This one is no giving it all their form of late, though a little bit patchy, but they did take Bayern Munich to penalties in the DFB Pokal semi-finals not too long ago, so certainly a team who on their day can match it, especially at home. But hopefully on this final match day with more to play for, we can pick up 3 points and hope some other results do go in our favour. Also, thankfully, no injury concerns going into this final day of the season, but unfortunately Lucas Search, with that late yellow card in that previous game, is going to be suspended for this one. That means that Lucas Lok will start alongside Gal at centre-backs, the two ball-playing defenders, but hopefully those two can still do a job. But that's our only concern going into this final game of the season, that suspension to Lucas Search, and hopefully we can pick up 3 points and see if the result in that Arminia Bielefeld Dynamo Dresden game goes our way. We'll come back shortly and get stuck into the final day action as we travel to take on Werder Bremen. And here are the team sheets for this final game of the season. There are Werder Bremen come to this one with some pretty mixed form, as you saw before, albeit at home. They have been doing a decent job and are also going with a 4-2-3-1. As I said before, Lucas Lok comes in for the suspended Lucas Search, and also Bullock is back in that balling midfield role. Leon Heinke relegated to the bench. But if we can win this one, we'll give ourselves a chance, potentially if the result goes our way in that Arminia Bielefeld Dynamo Dresden game, of sneaking up to third and playing that promotion playoff. And just past the 10-minute mark, the first highlight in this game is a throw in our favour. We pick out Krasnicki there at the far post. It was a bit of a hopeful header, that one. Unfortunately, comes off the post already. Dynamo Dresden, though, are 1-0 up. That is not the result we want. We want them to be dropping points, otherwise probably not going to finish above them with that big goal differential advantage that they do have, unless we can absolutely pump here Werder Bremen. But early doors not looking too good. 15 minutes in, good there from Mohamed Chum. Now Gay will rocket that one into the top left corner. It's a terrible start for us on the final day of the season, not just here, but also at Dynamo Dresden. Those guys are winning, and we now are 1-0 behind. Great work here from Charm. Does our guys there with some good footwork. Chattard squares that one for Gay. No stopping that one into that top left corner. And now we're up against it, 1-0 behind. And just going past the 20-minute mark, there's just been a penalty there to Dynamo Dresden, which Cade has put away. So now they're 2-0 up. It might not matter what we do, unfortunately, on this final day of the season. But still, hopefully, we can at least put up a fight here after going 1-0 down at Werder Bremen. Good work there from Krasnicki to win that ball back for us. Clige heads that one down for a Tilgen, but unfortunately comes off the post, and also he was offside. But so far, things not going to plan. 1-0 behind, and Dynamo Dresden are 2-0 in front. And we make our way forward to the half-hour mark, and it's a throw-in here on the halfway line in our favour. But unfortunately, Chum there, who did that good work for that first goal, wins it back there for Werder Bremen. So far, not quite at the races in this game. It is fair to say, and Roth starts to find some space down that left-hand side. Good work there, though, from Krasnicki, and Huxa wins that ball back for us, albeit can't quite find Clige. They try and square that one back over to the left-hand side. Thankfully, we win that one back now. A Tilgen with a good chance here to get us back in this game, but unfortunately tries to beat the keeper at his near post, and Gersbeck there comes up with a good save. Still 1-0 down. Hopefully can at least grab an equaliser before half-time to give us some chance of trying to grab that third spot if Dynamo Dresden do start to stumble a little bit. We are now down the other end, though, for a free kick here to Werder Bremen. Goes back out to Griffo. They go far post. Sabitzer squares that one nicely for Mohamed Chum, but thankfully it's blocked and able to be grabbed there by Krapakas, and we are still 1-0 behind. And just before half-time, there's one more highlight in this first half. We are still 1-0 behind, and again, it's Werder Bremen here on the ball from this highlight. Engelhardt plays that one forward to the goal scorer and Gay, but good tackle there from Bullock, and now Clige just holds things up here, waiting for support. Krasnicki slots him through here. He beats the goalkeeper. That's exactly what we wanted. Just before half-time, we make it 1-1. It might not matter, of course, if Dynamo Dresden do hold on to their current 2-0 lead, but at least we might do all we can here on this final match day of the season off the back of going 1-0 down fairly early. Good work there from Bullock. Cliche 1-2 with Krasnicki, tucks that one away in between the legs of the goalkeeper, makes it 1-1, and at the very least we might actually get a bit more prize money than we did last season by finishing 4th instead of 5th, but thankfully we're now going to have a chance in the second half to go and grab a winner, albeit, as I said, might not be important if Dynamo Dresden hold on to their 2-0 lead, but we're back in this game. Osman and Tilgan is only on a 6.4, but I don't think we'll make any substitutions just yet, and we'll get the second half underway, locked up at 1-1, but needing help from Arminia Bielefeld. And only a couple of minutes into the second half, early highlight here is a throw into Werder Bremen. Griffo there inside the box gets a header off, but thankfully that one goes fairly wide, and it is still 1-1 here, and Dynamo Dresden still 2-0 in front. And we've made our way 10 minutes into the second half, and unfortunately a few players out there are struggling in terms of their match rating, so we're going to make some substitutions here. We'll bring on Baker Boati for a Tilgan on a 6.3, and also Ernesto for Haxa on a 6.4, as we go searching for a winning goal, just in case we get that needed help. And short off the back of those first substitutions, it's another free kick here in favour of Werder Bremen. This one in a dangerous spot for Griffo, that one looking for the top left corner. Thankfully Krapakas does keep that one out. Off the back of that, we will encourage just to see if we can stop this highlight, but unfortunately that is not the case. A half hour left for us here in this one, and thankfully Bullock will head that one away, but still Dynamo Dresden 2-0 up, and it's 1-1 here at Werder Bremen. In fact, as I was trying to wrap that up, they have yet another free kick. That one also goes just over the bar, and while we are here, might make some more subs as well. Mateo Cachella's down to a red heart. Malati can come on for him, and Leon Heinke for a yellow carded Racine Bullock. And also we might just go for the juggler here and try and get a goal in this one. In these last 30 minutes, Sungbin Kim can come on for Cueto on a 6.5. There'll be all our subs used. Still 1-1. And just making our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, unfortunately Dynamo Dresden are still 2-0 in front, and it is 1-1 here. We at least need a winning goal, and to hope that Arminia Bielefeld can do us some favours, we're going to put our wing backs both on attack and both our wingers on attack as well, to see if that can help us grab a goal to put us in front inside these last 20 minutes. And very short off the back of making those more attacking changes to our player roles, it's another throw in here for Werder Bremen. Good work there though from Kim to clear our lines, and Clige actually wins that one back for us on the halfway line, and hopefully we get a chance here to build up. And Baker Boati there with a nice ball over the top. Clige just takes that one beyond his defender. We'll chip the goalkeeper off the back of that. We are going back to positive. We did go attacking, and also those players are going back to their usual role, so it means our left back will be on support, our right winger also on support. So only some minor changes there, but as soon as we've been attacking, we grab a goal. Baker Boati off the bench with a nice ball over the top there off the back from that clearance from Kim. From that set piece, we eventually get it forward to Baker Boati, and Clige still have lots of work to do here. Will grab his 24th goal of the season with a lovely chip, and now we need some help from Arminia Bielefeld as we go 2-1 in front. And just into the last 10 minutes of this game, unfortunately still 2-0 to Dynamo Dresden, so it is looking a little bit unlikely that we can overtake them. It might be goal differential, which does mean we are spending one more season in the 2 Bundesliga, but with these last 10 minutes in mind, we are going to time waste just a little bit, and hopefully we get at least a little bit of a glimmer of hope there from Arminia Bielefeld as Leon Heinke does pick up a yellow card. Not much we can do about that one late in this game. We'll just risk things, and hopefully that won't come back to bite us. It might not anyway with that situation at Dynamo Dresden. Late highlight here, and Werder Bremen are on the ball. There's going to be 4 minutes of at a time. They pump that one deep to the goal scoring Gay. Nice ball for there for Sabitzer, thankfully just off target. We start to enter injury time. There are no more goals in that Arminia Bielefeld game, so unfortunately, despite the fact we've picked up a win on this final match day of the season, we might have missed out based on goal differential, which would be very, very harsh, but we might be spending another season in the 2 Bundesliga. We pick up the wins that we needed to in today's episode, but it does look like we might be staying in this division. Just a slight improvement on last season if that result did stay the way it was, 2-0 in favour of Dynamo Dresden. We get past the post-match interview, and unfortunately Dynamo Dresden 2 first half goals do pick up a 2-0 win, as was probably expected at home over an Arminia Bielefeld team who have just finished the season a little bit weak. But we did pick up our form off the back of going to a gegenpress, but unfortunately might have left things just a little bit too late yet again, and we miss out on a promotion playoff on goal differential to Dynamo Dresden. And back in the inbox off the back of that second game of today's episode, it was a 2-1 win for us, but indeed Dynamo Dresden are going to a playoff to try and make their way up to the Bundesliga. We miss out on goal differential, a little bit closer than we were last season, but unfortunately it's another season in the 2 Bundesliga for us here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Potentially should have gone to a gegenpress a little bit sooner, albeit based on our first half of the season form, did feel like it might just be some tough games off the back of the winter break, which did make that form go to custard, but still, we did pick it up once we went to the gegenpress, and unfortunately, we just missed out by a solitary point, which is a little bit frustrating, it is fair to say, and we are spending another season in the 2 Bundesliga. A quick look at some other inbox items so far. No transfer budgets for next season. We'll come back when we do get those, but we do get the money. A little bit more than last season. We got 12 million when we did finish in 5th spot this year. We get 1 million more for a 4th place finish. That will help us out, get back on the right side of the finances. But unfortunately, we pick up wins but can't quite do enough to get ourselves into that promotion playoff. And only a few clicks off the back of getting that money for finishing 4th in the 2 Bundesliga this season. That still stings a little bit, but we do get our transfer budget. Our wage budget has gone up to £120,000 a week, which, to be fair, isn't that much more than what it was currently, but our transfer budget is just a little bit more than it was last season, £2.37 million. I dare say again, we might be looking at free transfers to try and improve the squad, move a lot of that over to that wage budget so we can get some decent players in, albeit actually fairly happy with our squad here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Quality-wise, it's actually not too bad, even though we were predicted again to be down near the bottom of the table. But a decent transfer budget for us to work with next season here at Lokomotive Leipzig, 2.37 million, and a decent chunk as well goes into the wage budget. And while we wait for the results for Dynamo Dresden, they try and make their way up to the Bundesliga, as well as I think it was Erzgebirge, who are in a relegation playoff. We do get our end of season review here at Lokomotive Leipzig, so we'll get stuck into this, a slight improvement from last season, finishing 4th instead of 5th. But before then, we did make transfers. The best one, according to the game, was Albin and Krasnicki. I suppose he was the only player with a green rating, 7.17 average rating, 4 goals and 11 assists. I would have thought that Thibaut Clige would have gone pretty close to being signing of the season. Of course, both were frees, but still, they've given it to Krasnicki, I dare say, based on that average rating. But to be fair, most of these guys that we did sign on free transfers this season did do a pretty good job for us, making our way down in the bottom of those, the likes of Yuri Bass, Alessandro De Renzi, Tom Gall, and Lucas Locke. Even then, most of those guys are above a 6.7, so most of them did perform well, and lots of them also did get a fair bit of game time. So most of the transfers that we did bring in the off-season certainly helped, even though we didn't improve that much. We did make some sales, of course, got rid of one of the older statesmen here at the club in Jamal Ziani, and also some players who, in terms of ability, weren't quite where I wanted them to be long-term parts of the save, the likes of Ricardo Grimm, Julian Weigel, Piplica, Eric Vufak, and Mark Lamptey. And also we did get rid of Linus Zimmer to Arminia Bielefeld. We did actually improve in that area with Yuri Bass as a backup, as well as Alessandro De Renzo as the starter at left back, and he went to Arminia Bielefeld for £190,000 nearly. Did enough to become a Bundesliga player next season, but thankfully we just finished above those guys on the table, which is nice. Linus, sometimes the grass is not greener on the other side. We did loan out lots of youngsters. Hopefully some of these guys can be useful when they come back to the club next season. Going forward to this season's results, goal differential is what killed us. Obviously, we didn't actually start the season off too badly. We picked up some fairly good results in those early season games, but disappointing those results against the likes of Eintracht Braunschweig and Darmstadt, as well as St. Pauli. But for the most part, that fluid counter-attacking style did work very well in that first part of the season, where things really went to custard was coming back from the winter break at the start of this week. We did, of course, lose to Schalke in the third round of the DFB Pokal in our first game back from that winter break after being 2 teams from the Free Liga in the first part of the season. Also worth noting, Bayern Munich have not won that competition. Our affiliate club in Eintracht Frankfurt have actually won the DFB Pokal, which is quite nice, but we certainly did more than what was expected of us in that competition by making the third round, albeit it was kind of expected with the draw that we did get, and we did get bundled out by Bundesliga Schalke in the third round, albeit they did have to leave it late to pick up a 1-0 win at home, but off the back of that result, our form in the two Bundesliga also plummeted quite significantly. We did lose to Hanover, bet Heidenheim, but then one draw in our next 4 fixtures, losing to some teams who in the end finished above us on that league table. And when we did lose to Gruppe in the bottom half of the table, that's when we made the switch to a gegenpress, and from there our form was pretty good. Only 2 draws and 1 loss. The result, I think, which killed us in that gegenpress pitch, because to be fair, there wasn't much reason to change things going into that second half of the season with how we did the first half. But I think the result that really killed us might be the 1-1 draw against Paderborn. Of course, only 1 more point and we would be in a promotion playoff, but somehow we only drew this game. Still not exactly sure how. That may be the result which haunts us the most from this past season, but unfortunately we just miss out on that promotion playoff based on goal differential to Dynamo Dresden. Going forward to the moments to remember, our biggest win was 4-1 in April over Erzgebirge. The match to remember was very early in the season, a 3-0 win away from home against Dynamo Dresden. That just is a little bit of a harsh reminder, of course, that those guys are now in a promotion playoff. And the goal of the season, this one, is actually a pretty interesting one. It was scored by Salue, coming off the bench to grab a second half double when we did beat Werder Bremen 3-1 just prior to that winter break. We were locked up at 1-1 after half-time. This was on the hour mark. It was good there from Heinke to win the ball back there from a free kick taken from their goalkeeper. Long-range effort, finds the back of an empty net. Not the greatest goal in terms of actual quality, but still found the net from a long way out and thankfully grabbed that goal, because from there we did pick up 3 important points, which did leave us inside that top 3 prior to that winter break before things did turn to custard. So that was the goal of the season, scored by our backup striker in Yannick Salui. Going forward to the finances, everything here has gone up. Our star rating in terms of club reputation is exactly the same, even though some of our facilities have been improved off the back of the money that we did get last season, in particular our youth recruitment and facilities in that regard. And merchandise-wise, the top shirt sellers were Tilgen Cliche off the back of a very good first season, Queto Kim, as well as Krapikas. We go forward to the best 11 from this past season, and this is the team that we did line up for most of this season. Krapikas in goal, Dorenzo, Gal, Search and Huxter at the back, Bullock and Kachala in the midfield, Krasnicki at right wing. He might be in line for player of the season based on that rating. Daniel Cueto, the other one with a green rating. Osman Atilgan out left, and of course Clige up front with that 24 goals, which I believe is a club record. And going forward to the accolades, no competition awards, but in terms of club awards, Krasnicki does absolutely sweep this. Fans player of the season, young player of the season at 24 years old does seem a little bit old for that, but still he picks that one up, as well as signing of the season, you saw that, and goal of the season before. Top goal scorer and also the most goals by a player in a season and a league season is Thibaut Clige, 24 overall, and 22 of those did come in the league. Most assists goes to Krasnicki with 11, and he also gets the most man of the matches with 5, as well as the highest average rating. So I suppose when you look at it like that, you can kind of understand why he did get a clean sweep of those big awards. And also worst discipline, Racine Bullock, 15 yellow cards, 1 red card, ball-winning midfielders. So we'll go forward to history in the making. Everything apparently is won and lost in the heart of every season. I take it that's the middle. That was the case for us. Not too sure what that actually means, because our middle of the season wasn't that great off the back of the winter break, but apparently once we did get rolling halfway through the season, we were hard to stop. I would say it was closer to the back end of the season, but anyway, I kind of understand what they do mean. Just that patch off the back of the winter break, which did prove oh so costly in going forward to the Dynamic Manager timeline. And absolutely nothing useful has been added to this one yet again, so we'll make our way through that absolutely useless new feature and make our way forward to our overall best 11. And Daniel Cueto is a new addition in that team, and just looking, he is the only one, albeit it does look like might be a few new names in that starting 11. Titus Krapikas is now starting in goal over Isadogan, but apart from that, still looks pretty similar to what it has been up until this point. In the save, he's in goal, Zimmer, Search, Eaglezeta, and Ernesto at the back, Leon Heinke, Grimm, and Weigel in the midfield. Our wingers are Tilgan and Owusu, and Ziani is up front. Feels a little bit harsh off the back of that debut season that Cliche is not in there, but no doubt he should be overtaking someone like Kevin Zek come this time next season. But I think that does it for the end of season review. We'll just go forward a little bit and see the results from those promotion relegation playoffs. And coming up towards the end of May is where we are going to leave things for today's episode, because we have just got the results in for the promotion relegation playoffs. As you can see, all those teams are in green and are in red, so it might be a bit of a spoiler. I think so far in the save, every team that's been in a playoff has either won it if they're trying to go up or lost it if they are going down. And again, that is the case. Dynamo Dresden 5-0 in that promotion playoff over Fortuna Düsseldorf, so it does mean the team who beat us to that spot on goal differential will be in the Bundesliga next season. It feels like we are so close to making our way to that top division, but unfortunately one more season for us in the 2 Bundesliga. Hopefully next season we can actually get the job done and might even go up automatically. And in terms of the relegation playoff, it is Erzgebirge who lost that to Magdeburg, so Magdeburg make their way up from the Free Liga. The other teams going down are of course Sandhausen and St. Pauli. Will be quite nice not to see those guys. A bit of a bogey team for us so far in the save. Going up just a little bit further to see who else is dropping down from the Bundesliga, and it is going to be alongside Fortuna Düsseldorf, both Jan Regensburg and Nuremberg. So to be fair, I think those 2 teams actually were in the 2 Bundesliga last season anyway, alongside Fortuna Düsseldorf, so it's a bit of a back to the future situation there with those teams coming down from the Bundesliga and coming up from the Free Liga alongside Magdeburg. It will be Bochum and Kaiserslautern. So that will do it for this 5th season of the save. Unfortunately, couldn't quite make our way into that promotion playoff one more season in the 2 Bundesliga. Hopefully next time we can make our way up to the big time and finally get some clashes against Ange Postecoglou's RB Leipzig. If you did enjoy today's episode wrapping up the 5th season of the save, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back at the start of next week for a transfer special. Got a little bit of money to spend. Hopefully we do it wisely and improve our squad just that little bit so we can make our way inside that top 3 for next season. So until Monday for that transfer special, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Thought I could do this, life through the sadness. Don't know how I ended up so lost. Sink through the deep end, hurt